before we go on, I'm still stuck on this whole mental illness thing, and I must have just not heard your whole point when you read it in your opening statement. Could you please go back to your opening statement, find the bit about mental patients, and just read that so I have an understanding where you're coming from.
Okay. Insane people are not held responsible for their actions.
Okay.
Because their brains are formed a certain way that's beyond their control.
Uh-huh.
Yet we consider ourselves responsible for our actions, even though our brains are also formed a certain way that's equally beyond our control. How are we to claim credit for our actions when we refuse their claim to theirs?
Okay, I understand that now. I'm sorry that I was confused about it earlier. So what you're doing is you're bringing up mentally ill people as an example of how we already accept that there are people whose actions are the result of their brain, the structure of their brain.
Right. Being the way it is.
And we already recognize that those people are not responsible for their actions.
Right. We deny their free will.
Okay. Really, though, I think that's a red herring. Because, and getting back to something that was said earlier, we lock up the guy that kills his neighbor, one way with one set of words when he's just a thief with a gun.
Sure.
And we lock him up a different place with a different set of words to describe it when he's a guy who's actually mentally ill.
Right.
And the difference in the words that we use and in the treatment that we or punishments that we apply is because of the different problems. It's two different problems. Right? So, while you have a point...
What is the problem? What are the two different problems? In the case
of the thief wants the money and doesn't care about killing people. In the case of the insane person, he's literally broken and not able to think rationally.
You're making a judgment call there.
Okay. Well, that is the judgment call that we make in our society.
I am trying. Well, I thought we were talking about free will.
It's
an assignment of responsibility. Free will is the thing that assigns responsibility for our actions. How can the criminal is held responsible? The insane person is not.
That's actually not true.
That's not true. We use a different word because in the case of the criminal who goes to prison, he can, in theory, because his brain is not broken so badly that he's incapable of reasoning. Okay. He can, in theory, stop behaving the way he behaves. Whereas the insane person is broken in a way we don't know how to fix. So we send him to a different place and we treat him differently. But in both cases, both physical bodies are taken and we do something with them to address the problem. We just do it different ways depending on where that problem is coming from.
So are insane people held responsible for their actions? I mean,
in a sense that is perfectly valid, yes. But we don't, you're latching on to the fact that we treat the different root causes, to treat the perpetrator differently depending on the root cause, as if that somehow makes your case.
The root cause is a difference in brain structure.
No, we still lock up the crazy guy.
The root cause is a difference in brain structure, and that determines their actions.
You're saying that is true in both cases?
Yes.
So we should treat the guy who makes a judgment call, I can kill my neighbor and get away with the money. We ought to treat him exactly the same way as the guy who believes that invisible pixies are telling him how to behave.
Both are machines acting as they're programmed.
So your answer is yes. There is no difference between mental illness and any other kind of behavior.
Right.
No difference.
I have to conclude that there
which is odd and contradictory because you brought up mental patients to prove. Oh no. Okay. No, I'm sorry. I take that back. I know where you're coming from. Okay. So That is right. That there is why anybody cares about the free will argument, right? Because because if it's really true that there's no difference between sanity and insanity,
right,
as far as responsibility for actions, then we have no right to lock up insane people.
Right, absolutely. But it's to our advantage to do so.
But it doesn't prove that you're wrong.
It's to our advantage to do so.
It doesn't prove that you're wrong because I'm not making an argument from bad consequences. Let's just understand. Let's have the cards on the table, right?
Right.
This is why it is so important to prove that you are wrong. Okay. Now,
wait a minute. No, I want to ask Dennis a question.
Sure. Go ahead.
Really?
Yes.
So, do you believe, as a literal, practical matter, we shouldn't be locking up insane people?
Whoa! Practical? Where did you get that from? No, I'm saying the truth of the matter is we are machines operating as programs.
Jeff just asked you, didn't you, if we should be locking up insane people?
No, I said that. I asked Dennis to confirm that, according to his view, we have no right to lock up.
Right. Oh, God. Let me. Right. Of course we have the right.
I don't want to read too much into that. What I mean is, you're saying effectively there's no difference.
It just seems to me
that there's no difference other than. Pardon. There's no difference other than an arbitrary one.
Right.
Okay.
It just seems to me that Dennis is basically taking two positions. One as a matter of philosophical. I don't even know the words to express this.
It's difficult. I know.
One position is a matter of philosophical principle as he sees it, but he adopts a completely different set of standards for dealing with the real world.
Yes, of course.
I don't see why that's an of course.
The truth does not have to have utility.
I think according to the way we do science, the truth generally does have utility.
No.
I agree with Dennis here. The truth doesn't have to be utility. It's the same way. It's the point I was making before. I have no way of distinguishing between reality and illusion of reality. But on a practical sense, I'm going to operate as if the reality experience is true.
Right.
I have no way of distinguishing between the reality of free will and this illusion of free will.
Okay.
So,
but you're not just assuming something for the sake of convenience. Dennis is actually believing something philosophically and then acting in an opposite way.
Yes, I am.
I don't find that to be that doesn't make any sense to me.
Oh, well.
And
But we do that all the time.
He's doing more than that.
We do?
Yes. Dennis is claiming that his view that there isn't free will does not rely on any arbitrary distinctions. Is that correct? You claiming to have to not rely on any arbitrary distinctions to support your case?
I have no idea what you're saying.
Well, I mean, I'm saying by the word arbitrary, I mean exactly what you mean when, say, Matt comes along and says,
arbitrary distinctions between what and what?
Between any things. When Matt comes in and says, I have this feeling. God, no, that's not a good example.
No.
Where help me out, guys. Dennis has used this word several times in this and other discussions where every time we bring up utilitarian concerns, right? You say those utilitarian concerns are just arbitrary distinctions and therefore not relevant to the facts. The facts are we're just machines and blah, 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 and you're off to the races.
Right.
Okay. So because you keep, pushing away utilitarian arguments on the basis that they're arbitrary,
right,
I assume you have an objection to, arbitrary bases for for making your decisions.
No, I
and
have
therefore,
a problem with arbitrary basis for arriving at truth.
Okay,
I
so
don't
you
have
say,
a problem
so
with
you
arbitrary
say,
basis for
so hang on.
for dealing with that.
So you
truth.
say you got hold of the truth, and the truth you've got hold of is that there is no free will,
right?
And that your arrival at that truth is not based on any arbitrary things.
My arrival.
Did you use any arbitrary distinctions to get to to reach the conclusion
I don't think so.
you've reached?
I don't
okay.
think so.
Well,
We're
you
machines.
have. You have.
That's my thing. We're
you have.
machines.
You have.